the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages.
Shakespearean scholarship and the texts of his work have undergone a process of metamorphosis over the past 4 centuries. A bit like the 7 Ages of Man soliloquy from the play As You Like It, there are 7 distinct phases, and we can use the rich resources of Senate House Library to help tell the story.
When he used a wide range of sources as inspiration for his plays. Holinshed's Chronicles, for example, and the complete works of Geoffrey Chaucer. Several of the plays were printed for the first time in the 1623 folio after Shakespeare's death, but some appeared earlier, published singly as quartos, the period's equivalent of a cheap paperback. Plays such as King Lear and Othello can surprise us by how different they are from what we expect.
And then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and his shining morning face crawling like snail unwillingly to school.
In the course of the 17th century, 4 folios were published, the 3rd and 4th of which contained 7 plays no longer thought to be by Shakespeare. Senate House Library holds copies of all 4 folios, perhaps its greatest treasure.
And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad to his mistress, Eyebrow.
Shakespeare was effectively rediscovered in the 18th century. Earlier writers and playwrights like Nahum Tate, John Dryden and William Davenant had revised his works quite radically for the stage. But 18th century audiences fell in love with Shakespeare all over again, thanks to great actors like David Garrick. Garrick, who was described by one of his contemporaries as the best living comment on Shakespeare, played a crucial role in restoring the original versions of Shakespeare's plays to the stage. The 18th century also marked the rise of the editorial tradition. Anonymous correctors had started to edit Shakespeare's text in the 17th century, but now his works were being edited by the great poet and scholars of the period, including Alexander Pope, Samuel Johnson and Edmund Malone, and they were being published in lavishly annotated multi-volume editions. Similarly, Shakespeare's text as spoken on stage was being purged of all regional accents and variations and became the paragon of phonetic propriety, thus contributing to the establishment of a standard English accent. All in all, the 18th century was the time when Shakespeare first became England's national poet.
And then the soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth.
The 19th century saw the slow emergence of a broadly accepted authoritative text, but that harmony was only won through bitter disputes over textual variants, spurious additional plays, and even whether William Shakespeare was really the author of anything at all.
And then the justice, in goodly round belly, with capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part.
The 19th century was the golden age of Shakespeare scholarship, with the establishment of one authoritative corpus of work, and also the great age of Shakespearean productions in the theatre, with the most famous actors of the day, from Edmund Kean right through to Henry Irving, playing the great lead roles, especially in the Shakespearean tragedies. But Shakespeare was also a massive influence on writers in the 19th century, above all the greatest novelist of the day, Charles Dickens. And at the same time, cheap publications like Charles Knight's Shakespeare were bringing his plays into a very wide readership.
The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again to childish treble, whistles and pipes in his sound.
By the 20th century, Shakespeare had been appropriated by cultures from around the world. For example, he's known as one of the three great German writers, and his works have been translated into languages from South America to the Far East. There were plans for a Shakespeare Memorial National Theatre in Bloomsbury to mark the tercentenary in 1916. The First World War intervened, but the chair of the committee, Israel Gallantz, created the Shakespeare Hut on Gower Street, where Shakespeare's plays were performed for Anzac troops.
And last scene of all, that ends this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
The folios themselves are now part of our global heritage. They are objects of wonder and scholarship in their own right, and we are immensely proud to house them here in the library of Senate House at the heart of the University of London.